Hello Honors Pre-Calculus students. The goal of this learning target is to show you how to type in this cosine graph that I'm highlighting and sine graph that I'm highlighting in order to make sure you're doing this problem correctly regarding the Ferris wheel. So in the previous video we sketched the graph and we came up with these equations, so now let me show you how to use your Casio calculator to type these in. So on the Casio, the first thing I'm going to do is press menu, and I'm going to press number 5 for graph. And one thing I need to do is make sure my calculator is in radian mode. So I'm going to press Shift, Setup, and I'm going to scroll down. And eventually, you're going to see angle. Right now my calculator is in degrees. I need it in radians. So I'm going to press F2, then I'll press Exit. So now I'm going to type in Y1, and I'll say -70, so -70. Cosine. Now I like to put a parenthesis here, and I would advise it. I'm going to press the ABC button to get a little fraction. I'm going to say 2 pi, and then I'll jump down the denominator. Then I'll move out of the fraction, put an extra parenthesis, and say x. Actually, I don't need the parentheses, so I'm going to go back and just say x. And I'm going to delete that parenthesis, close the parenthesis, and plus 80. So what I see on paper, I'm going to type in, I'm going to hit execute. Now I'm going to check my window or change my window, so I'm going to go Shift Window. And when I look at the paper, I always like to see a little bit to the left of the axis, so I'm going to say -3.5, which is half of a period. For the maximum, I'm going to go to 10.5. A full period of 7 minutes plus half. For scale, I'm going to use 3.5, which is half the period. And then for, I have to go back to window, I should have hit the down arrow key. For Y minimum, I again like to see the axes, so I'm going to leave it at -10. And I'm going to go up to 170, a little higher than the maximum. And for scale, I'm going to use 10. And then I'm going to hit execute, then I'll press draw, F6, and then I see the graph, and that looks pretty close to what I see on paper. Just to check it, I'm going to press trace. The calculator is sitting at 3.5, 150, which is one of the points that I have. I'm going to type in 1.75, hit execute, and that is also a point on my graph, so I know I did this problem correctly. Now sometimes you have a more complicated graph, so I'm going to show you how to type in the sine graph. So I'm going to delete this one. So for the sine graph, I'm going to say 70 sine. I'm going to put a parenthesis. I'm going to press that fraction button. I'll say 2 pi. Go down to the denominator and say 7. Get out of the fraction. Now this is where I need a parenthesis. X minus 1.75. Close the parenthesis for the x minus 1.75, and then close the parenthesis for the sine function, and then plus 80. Hit execute. We already set up our window, so I can press F6 for draw. Again, I'm going to hit trace just to double check it. I'm sitting at 3.5, 150. I'm going to check one more point by typing in 1.75. And notice I'm also at 1.7580, which is a point on my graph. So I hope you found this video helpful on how to use the Casio calculator to check your Ferris wheel problem.